Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going deep on Beyoncé's Cowboy Carter album.
Oh, a fascinating choice.
I think so. But we're going way beyond just like a regular review, you know?
For sure.
We're digging into interviews and the critical response to the album, and even articles about, like, its business and cultural impact.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, so we really want to uncover what makes this album so unique, and explore its creation and, its legacy.
Well, and what makes this album even more powerful, I think, is how it's connected to Beyoncé's own history.
You're talking about her Texas roots, how those really shine through in Cowboy Carter.
Exactly. Growing up in Houston, Beyoncé was surrounded by cowboy culture,
Right.
from rodeo experiences to even her family attending the Houston Livestock Show and rodeo every year. Decked out in full Western attire, it's a strong part of her background.
Wow, that's commitment.
It is. There's even a story about her grandfather being a huge rodeo fan.
Oh, wow.
Really shows how these influences run deep.
Yeah, it sounds like those influences were present even before Cowboy Carter.
You're right. Remember her Ivy Park rodeo clothing collection?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was a hint of things to come.
For sure.
Musically, though, Daddy Lessons from Lemonade, that was her first real step into country music.
Yeah, what do you think about that song as like a precursor to Cowboy Carter?
It definitely felt like a bold statement, especially performing it with the Chicks at the CMA Awards.
Oh, yeah.
Got people talking.
Definitely it did.
And not always in a positive way either.
Oh.
Yeah, there was a lot of debate about whether a black woman could even be considered country. The CMA actually deleted their promotional posts about the performance, which just added fuel to the fire.
It really seems like Cowboy Carter could be interpreted as Beyoncé's response to that controversy.
That's a great point. But Cowboy Carter isn't a purely country album.
Right.
It's more of a genre-bending journey through Americana.
Americana. What comes to mind when you hear that term?
Well, it's a bit of a nebulous term, but it generally refers to music that draws from American roots genres,
Okay.
blending them all together.
Gotcha.
And Cowboy Carter definitely embodies that. I mean, it incorporates not just country, but also elements of Zydeco, rock and roll, blues, folk.
That explains why the album feels so diverse, so layered.
Right.
What I find really intriguing, though, is how the album is structured like a radio broadcast,
Oh, yeah.
with these iconic figures like Dolly Parton, Linda Martell, Willie Nelson, all acting as DJs.
I love that. What do you think those figures represent in the context of the album?
I mean, they're guides through this musical journey, right?
Yeah.
But each one represents a different facet of American music history. Parton is like the contemporary country queen.
Right.
Martell represents this overlooked legacy of black women in country.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Nelson symbolizing that outlaw spirit of country music.
Yeah.
Together, they just paint this really rich and complex picture of the genre.
You got it. They also add this layer of authenticity to the album's whole concept.
For sure. We can't forget about the album's unique production choices either.
Definitely not.
The use of older instruments, natural sounds like wind and bird song.
Yeah. It creates this incredibly organic and almost timeless sound.
How would you describe the overall feeling you get?
It's raw, stripped back.
Yeah.
Like, she's intentionally avoiding that polished sound of modern pop.
Yeah,
Almost like you're transported to a different time and place.
I love that.
Let's dive into the themes and the symbolism here.
Okay.
What are your initial thoughts on the title, Cowboy Carter? What does it evoke for you?
It immediately makes me think about the image of the black cowboy, a figure that's often been erased from popular depictions of the American West. It feels like a reclamation of that identity.
Absolutely. You've hit on a crucial point. The very concept of Cowboy Carter challenges this traditional narrative of the American cowboy, bringing to light a history that's been ignored or minimized.
Yeah, and it's fascinating how it challenges that classic cowboy image. The album cover itself is striking, with Beyoncé riding side saddle in front of an American flag.
Right.
With visual references to historical artwork, it feels very deliberate.
It is. The imagery is rich with symbolism. Riding side saddles, historically, a position for women of high status conveys a sense of power and control. And then the American flag adds another layer.
Right.
It makes you think about patriotism and identity.
Right, especially in the context of Black American history.
Exactly.
You mentioned historical artwork.
Yeah.
I noticed some similarities to Kahine Wiley's equestrian portraits,
Oh, yeah.
which often reimagine classical European paintings with black subjects. What do you make of those connections?
I think it's definitely intentional. By referencing those portraits, Beyoncé positions herself within a lineage of Black excellence,
Yeah.
reclaiming a place in art history that's often denied to Black individuals. It's a powerful statement.
Really is.
Yeah.
It's incredible how she's using visuals to make such powerful statements.
Absolutely.
But let's not forget about the music itself.
Right.
5 years seems like a long time to devote to an album.
It's a testament to her dedication.
What do we know about the creative process behind Cowboy Carter?
Well, she didn't just write and record. She deeply immersed herself in research. She delved into the history of country music, Western culture, and the untold stories of Black pioneers. She approached it like a scholar, uncovering hidden gems of musical history.
It sounds like she went beyond the typical pop star approach.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What about the musical collaborations?
What?
We already talked about the legendary DJs, but there were other artists involved too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Cowboy Carter features an incredible array of collaborators, from established legends like Stevie Wonder and Paul McCartney to rising stars and experts in specific genres. For example, she worked with Rhiannon Giddens, a musician and scholar who's known for her work in reviving Black folk music traditions. What do you think someone like Giddens brings to this project?
It seems like each collaborator adds a different layer of depth and authenticity to the album. Having Giddens involved really reinforces that connection to Black musical roots.
Exactly. And it's not just about star power either. Each artist was carefully chosen for their unique talents and perspectives.
Yeah.
It speaks to Beyoncé's meticulous approach to crafting this album. There's even a rumor that she recorded over 100 songs for this project.
Wow, that's incredible. It makes you wonder what other gems might be hidden away.
Right.
But speaking of crafting the album, you mentioned earlier that it's structured like a journey.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that a bit?
So remember those radio DJ interludes we discussed?
Yeah.
They're not just there for nostalgia.
Right.
They actually act as guides, leading listeners through different themes and musical landscapes. It's like tuning into a radio station, broadcasting from Beyoncé's imagination, where each song is a stop along a carefully curated route.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It makes the listening experience feel much more intentional and immersive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What about the production side of things?
Yeah, we touched on the use of natural sounds and older instruments, but are there other notable techniques used in the album's production?
For sure. One thing that stands out is her use of the fiddle.
Oh, yeah.
In country music, the fiddle often provides this bright, upbeat energy.
Right.
But in songs like Texas Hold'em, Beyoncé uses the fiddle to create a sense of tension and drama, almost like a character in a Western film score.
Wow.
It's unexpected.
Yeah.
Adds a whole other dimension to the music.
It shows how she's taking these traditional elements and using them in a new way. We've been talking a lot about overarching themes and influences.
Yeah.
But I'd love to dig into some specific songs.
Okay.
What are some tracks that exemplify the album's unique blend of genres and storytelling?
Well, there are so many great examples.
Okay.
Texas Hold'em, which we just mentioned, is a perfect starting point.
Okay.
It blends country twang with Beyoncé's signature pop sensibility,
Yeah.
creating this high-energy anthem about taking risks and defying the odds. The lyrics are clever, playing with metaphors from the card game, but also alluding to larger themes of power and resilience.
It's definitely a standout track, one that gets stuck in your head.
It really is. What about some of the slower, more introspective songs?
Yeah, let's hear about those.
16 Carriages is a beautiful example.
Okay.
It's a soulful ballad with this bluesy feel, exploring themes of longing and the journey back to one's roots. The lyrics are incredibly evocative.
Yeah.
They paint a vivid picture of the American landscape and the emotional weight of history.
16 Carriages always gives me chills. It feels so deeply personal and heartfelt.
Yeah.
And then there's the playful Spaghetti 24, which showcases a different side of the album.
Spaghetti 24 is pure fun.
It is.
It's got that infectious Western swing vibe that makes you want to get up and dance.
Right.
But what's really clever is how Beyoncé incorporates Southern slang and idioms into the lyrics,
Yeah.
adding another layer of authenticity and playfulness. It's like she's reclaiming those expressions and making them her own.
I love that.
It's a great example of how she's weaving together language, music, and cultural references.
Yeah, to create something truly unique.
And speaking of reclaiming things, we can't forget her cover of Dolly Parton's Jolene.
Oh, yeah, a classic.
What do you make of her interpretation of this classic country song? It's a masterclass in reinterpreting a classic. She infuses it with bluesy vocals and this haunting arrangement that completely transforms the song.
Wow.
It's both a tribute to a country legend and a showcase of Beyoncé's own artistry.
Right.
It shows how she can take an existing song and make it entirely her own, imbuing it with new meaning and depth.
It really does. That seems to be a recurring theme throughout Cowboy Carter. Reimagining, reclaiming, and redefining.
Yeah.
It's more than just an album. It's a statement.
It really is.
Yeah.
But before we move on to its impact, I want to ask you, what are some of your favorite lyrics or musical moments from the album?
That's a tough one. There are so many to choose from. But one line that always sticks with me is from Texas Hold'em. I'm a cowgirl, through and through. Got grit in my soul and spurs on my boots.
I love that line.
It perfectly encapsulates the album's spirit of strength and resilience and defiance. Musically, the fiddle solo in that same song is just breathtaking. It's so full of emotion and energy, it sends shivers down my spine every time I hear it.
Yeah.
What about you? Are there any lyrics or musical moments that particularly resonate with you?
Yeah, there are so many great moments on this album, but I think we should shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
We've talked about the music and the historical context.
Yeah.
But now I want to hear about Cowboy Carter's impact, beyond music.
Right.
It seems like this album really permeated culture.
It did. Cowboy Carter became a phenomenon. Touched on fashion business, and it sparked important conversations about race and representation in music.
Yeah, let's start with the fashion world. That surge in Western wear we talked about earlier. What are your thoughts on how the album influenced those trends?
Well, it was definitely more than just copying Beyoncé's look.
Right. The album tapped into this sense of individuality and freedom that the Western aesthetic embodies.
Yeah.
And people resonated with that.
They did. It gave them permission to play with those styles and make them their own.
Exactly. And the fashion industry noticed.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Big-time designer brands like Ralph Lauren. They incorporated those Western elements into their collections. And fast fashion retailers couldn't keep cowboy boots on the shelves.
It was wild. I even remember reading that Levi's saw a huge jump in sales after Beyoncé name-dropped them in Levi's jeans.
Oh, yeah. Is that true, or just like an urban legend?
It's true. Their stock value soared.
Wow.
Foot traffic in stores increased, and online searches for Levi's jeans went through the roof.
That's the power of Beyoncé.
It really is. It shows the power she has to influence trends and consumer behavior.
It goes beyond just fashion, though.
Right, it does.
Even ride-sharing companies like Uber and Lyft, they capitalized on Cowboy Carter.
They did. Both companies launched promotions inspired by the album.
Oh, really? What did they do?
Uber had discount codes referencing song titles.
Clever.
Lyft changed their car icons in the app to little white horses for a while.
I vaguely remember that.
It was a nod to the album cover.
Oh, wait.
Really clever marketing.
It was. It showed how embedded the album was in pop culture.
For sure. But even beyond fashion and marketing, the most significant impact might be on the country music industry.
Yeah, what kind of shifts did you observe after Cowboy Carter was released?
The impact was huge. Cowboy Carter exposed millions of people to country music who might never have listened to it before. Streaming numbers for the genre went way up, and radio airplay for Black country artists increased significantly.
That's amazing.
It was a big moment for representation and diversity in a genre that has struggled with inclusivity.
It feels like Cowboy Carter was a turning point.
It was.
It introduced new audiences to country music, but it also created space for Black artists who had been marginalized.
Yeah.
It challenged the status quo and sparked those conversations about who gets to claim country music.
You got it. The album forced people to confront their ideas about country music and acknowledge its roots in Black culture.
It really did. It wasn't just about musical taste. It sparked dialogues about race, identity, and cultural ownership.
Absolutely. Conversations that continue today.
Cowboy Carter managed to be both a celebration of musical heritage and a catalyst for social change. It's a fitting legacy for Beyoncé.
I agree. Cowboy Carter is more than an album. It's a cultural touchstone, a reminder of the power of music to transcend boundaries, challenge norms, and create a more inclusive and representative world.
It's a conversation starter.
It is.
An invitation to explore the complexities of music history and cultural identity.
I like that. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Cowboy Carter, what's one final thought you want to leave our listeners with?
Good question.
I'd say this album encourages us to think critically about the music we listen to,
Right.
to question our assumptions about genres and artists, and to appreciate the tapestry of influences that shape our cultural landscape.
Keep listening, keep exploring, keep those conversations going.
That's it.
Well, thank you for joining us on this incredible journey into Cowboy Carter.
It's been my pleasure.